Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're doing something a bit different. We're not just looking at a successful brand in general. We're really zeroing in, dissecting what you could almost call a masterpiece of modern entrepreneurial timing. It's this fascinating blend of celebrity influence, but also really rigorous business strategy. So our mission today is super focused. We're looking at one specific moment. Millie Bobby Brown's 2025 holiday campaign for her brand, Florence By Mills. We're diving deep into all the source material surrounding that October 30th, 2025 launch. That was the day she personally, unveiled this incredibly vibrant gift guide. And like you said, it wasn't just, oh, here are some more clean beauty products. No, this felt like the definitive statement that Florence By Mills, or FBM as people call it, had really arrived. It had fully transitioned into this multi-category lifestyle powerhouse. You saw fashion right there, front and center, alongside these really sophisticated limited edition sets. So that's what we're here for. We want to extract the strategic genius, really, from the data, the aesthetics, the timing, everything we can find in the reports. Okay, let's get into it. Let's unpack this source material and figure out what made this 2025 holiday blitz just so impactful.
Yeah, and the sources really do back that up. This campaign feels like a critical turning point. What's so fascinating here, I think, is that this isn't just your standard product launch. It really serves as this incredibly detailed case study in how modern commerce works, especially, when you're targeting that Gen Z consumer. We're looking at what amounts to a masterclass in, several things. Founder commitment, definitely. Strategic expansion into multiple categories. And crucially, this pricing architecture that seems really optimized for loyalty and lifetime value, maybe more so than just maximizing profit on a single sale. So our mission statement for you, listening in, is this. We want to pull out those strategic nuggets from all these detailed reports we've been looking at. The goal is so you understand the machinery behind this success. You shouldn't just know what FBM offered for the holidays, right? You need to grasp how it positioned itself so strategically against, everyone. The legacy beauty giants, sure, but also the newer celebrity rivals popping up all the time. We're really analyzing how Millie Bobby Brown has navigated this incredibly challenging path, going from, a popular actress and maybe endorser to a genuinely strategic, hands-on business leader. And frankly, every move she makes now seems to have implications for the whole influencer-led commerce landscape.
Okay, so to really get why that 2025 campaign was so sophisticated, we kind of have to rewind, right? We need to establish the brand's foundation first. Let's go back to 2019. That's when Millie Bobby Brown, MB, launched Florence By Mills. And she was, 15 years old?
Just 15, yeah. It's remarkable when you think about it, and that personal foundation is obvious right from the get-go. Even in the name, Florence, after her great-grandmother, and Mills, her family nickname.
That immediate personal connection, that feels like the very first strategic pillar they built, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and that personal origin story is so vital because it directly addresses the #1 criticism, usually, of celebrity brands. The question of authenticity. Is this real or just a licensing deal? The source material consistently emphasizes that Brown apparently identified a genuine market gap based on her own lived experience, spending years in professional makeup chairs for work.
Right, from a really young age.
Exactly. And she realized there was this real lack of quality, gentle products specifically designed for sensitive transitional skin, which is exactly the demographic she was in and representing. So that insight coming from the demographic she wanted to serve gave the brand this intrinsic, meaningful purpose, something that, frankly, a lot of the legacy brands, often rooted in older demographics, just couldn't easily replicate. It felt genuine.
That distinction feels key, solving a problem she personally experienced versus, just slapping her name on a pre-existing formula someone else developed. That's fundamental to building trust, especially with that younger audience. But then, okay, personal passion is one thing. Where did the strategy shift towards serious business acumen? Because the financial structure seems really important here. A lot of celebrity lines, they're basically licensing deals, right? The celebrity is just the face. But the sources highlight this really critical pivot point in late 2020. What happened there?
Yeah, that's where the story gets incredibly nuanced and honestly quite strategic. FBM was initially incubated, helped get off the ground, by a company called the Beach House Group. They specialize in this sort of thing. But then in late 2020, MB and her team made a major move. They actually secured a majority stake in the company. This wasn't just, a press release detail. This was a significant exercise in financial and operational control.
A majority stake. Okay, let's dig into that because that signals she's the active decision maker, obviously. But what are the real, operational consequences of having that level of control, especially for such a young founder. That seems like a huge undertaking.
Oh, the operational consequences are immense, and they carry significant risk, which is probably why the sources we looked at treat this moment with a kind of respect. First off, it required serious financial backing, serious leverage, and a deep commitment to operational governance. This wasn't just about influencing, say, the color of a lip gloss. She was now ultimately accountable for everything. Supply chain logistics, inventory risk, huge in beauty and fashion financial reporting, legal compliance. This meant establishing a dedicated executive team, often separate from her acting management team, focused solely on FBM. And the initial valuation reports we've seen, they suggest that the value placed on her future commitment and her active leadership was a massive factor in that buyout negotiation. It seems it far exceeded what a more passive celebrity royalty stake would typically command.
Wow. Okay, so the majority stake isn't just a symbol, it's the tangible proof of her deep commitment. And when you talk about the modern consumer, especially Gen Z, they crave transparency, right? They want the receipts, not just the promises. How does this ownership model actually function as that proof?
It functions as the definitive receipt, exactly like you said. Gen Z is notoriously sharp at spotting corporate cash grabs or inauthentic endorsements. For them, brand commitment isn't really proven by a slick Instagram post anymore. It's proven by things like balance sheets, governance structures, real skin in the game. If MB holds the majority stake, she has literally put her own capital and, just as importantly, her reputation on the line in a very direct way. This move fundamentally transitioned the brand narrative from one of authenticity, like a story being told, to a demonstrable reality of founder accountability. And that deep commitment, that reality, directly underpins the brand's core philosophy, which seems to have been non-negotiable from day one.
And those non-negotiables, they seem absolutely central to the FBM identity. Let's just lay out those three foundational pillars again, make sure we're clear. Clean beauty, affordability, and authentic self-expression. Can you detail those specific kind of ethical commitments that seem to resonate so strongly?
Yeah, these are basically table stakes now if you want to compete effectively in the youth market. The brand is built around very specific ethical requirements. Everything is vegan, cruelty-free, it's got the PETA certification, and it's strictly free from a list of harsh chemicals, parabens, sulfates, synthetic fragrances, the usual suspects. But this isn't just about having a good, clean formulation. It's about providing really clear ethical alignment for the consumer. Think about it. If you're a young consumer prioritizing environmental impact or ethical sourcing, FBM basically removes the friction. You don't have to spend hours vetting the product yourself. The commitment is built in.
That makes sense. It simplifies the choice.
Exactly. And then that ethical positioning is tightly woven into the third pillar, affordability. While the products are definitely positioned as maybe premium or accessible luxury, the actual price points are remarkably manageable. Traditionally, most items seem to fall somewhere between, say, $10 and $34.
Which is pretty accessible for that demographic.
Yeah, it really is. This pricing strategy shows this acute understanding of a younger consumer's realistic disposable income. It allows them to feel like they're participating in a trend, investing in high-quality, ethical self-care, but without that prohibitive cost you often see with the legacy luxury brands.
Right, so that sweet spot, ethical, high quality, and affordable, that creates this really powerful competitive moat, doesn't it? It feels like it sets the stage perfectly for the kind of high volume, maybe even impulse purchasing that you see ramp up during the holiday season, which conveniently leads us right back to the launch timing of late 2025. Okay, so let's jump forward again to that launch moment, October 30th, 2025. We know in the retail world, timing is just everything, especially in Q4, the holiday quarter. Why that specific date, October 30th, feels quite early, kind of preempting the traditional November rush? Was that a calculated risk?
Oh, it's definitely calculated. It's not just sophisticated retail timing. It's a really strategic move designed to optimize profit margins and also manage inventory effectively. By having Millie Bobby Brown personally unveil the gift guide on October 30th, FBM positioned itself decisively ahead of a few key things. First, the traditional November 1st start date many brands use, and second, maybe even more critically, ahead of the absolute chaos and deep discounting of the Black Friday and Cyber Monday promotional wars.
Okay, so avoiding the discount frenzy.
Exactly. If you look at the competitive landscape, big players like Sephora, Ulta, they often ramp up promotions throughout November, right? Which can force steep discounts across the board, and that really erodes profitability. FBM's early launch does two things. One, it captures the attention and the budget of the early season shopper, the super organized person who needs to get those limited edition items locked down before they sell out.
The planners.
The planners, exactly. And two, by launching early, they secure those initial sales at, or very close to, full margin. They lock in those high-value inventory purchases before the market just devolves into this race to the bottom on price. It's really a strategy of primacy and price protection.
That makes a lot of sense. And to market that early launch, they really leaned into the founder connection, didn't they?
Yeah.
MBB was the primary model, maybe even the only model, in those creative shoots. The whole visual language seemed designed to be instantly memorable, very shareable online.
Yeah, the visual language was, well, pretty impeccable for the target demographic. The sources describe the imagery vividly positioning Brown against these literal mountains of colorfully wrapped presents. That immediately transmits themes of joy, generosity, abundance, the holiday spirit. But importantly, the aesthetic was highly intentional. It was widely praised, apparently, for being cozy and whimsical. It felt more like festive self-expression rather than, say, polished, unattainable luxury. That relatability factor is a key counterpoint to the more clinical, sometimes aspirational holiday campaigns you see from older, established beauty houses.
Right, it felt younger, more fun. And speaking of aesthetic and relatability, this 2025 campaign really seemed to solidify FBM's massive pivot, the prominent feature of fashion, loungewear specifically. This signaled that the brand had fully evolved, moving beyond just a successful beauty line into a comprehensive lifestyle brand. That's a huge jump in scope and ambition.
It really is. And this multi-category expansion is arguably the most strategic financial decision they made since securing that majority stake back in 2020. By moving into fashion, and specifically loungewear, which is deeply personal, high rotation, worn frequently, they are dramatically increasing their total addressable market, or TAM. Furthermore, this is where the business focus really shifts from being purely transactional, buying a single product, to becoming more relational. Think about it. A customer who buys a full FBM beauty routine and also picks up a fashion set. Their potential consumer lifetime value, or CLV, shoots way up.
Because FBM is now integrated into multiple parts of their daily life,
Yeah.
not just sitting on their skincare shelf.
Exactly. It's in their closet. It's part of their relaxation routine. It deepens the brand connection significantly.
Okay, let's break down that fashion line a bit more, especially those 3 specific sets that MBB modeled in the campaign. Because they weren't just random pieces, they seemed deeply plugged into current micro trends at the time. We absolutely have to start with the set that seemed to get the most buzz online, the bow-clad white and red set. It was priced at $39.95, described as a ribbed cropped cami and low-rise shorts, and the defining feature was these dainty red bows and ribbons. Why focus so much on that specific detail, the bows?
The red bow detail. That little element is actually key to understanding FBM's agility and cultural fluency. It was a perfect, timely integration of this hyper-specific aesthetic called coquettecore.
Coquettecore, okay, explain that.
Right, so coquettecore was this huge Gen Z trend around that time. It emphasizes hyper-feminine, almost vintage, sometimes doll-like details. I think bows, lace, pastel colors, ruffles. It was seen by many as a kind of rejection of the very stark, minimalist aesthetic that had dominated fashion for the previous decade or so. So by embedding coquettecore, specifically those little red bows, into their affordable holiday loungewear, FBM demonstrated this profound understanding of what was trending right now on platforms like TikTok.
And doing it quickly.
Unlike, say, athleisure, which has become a long-term staple, coquettecore was arguably a faster-moving microtrend. Successfully capturing it in a product that hits shelves for the holidays proves that FBM's product development cycle is nimble. It's agile enough to respond to these rapid online trends and get product out fast. That's something larger, slower legacy retailers often really struggle with.
That agility definitely makes the brand feel current, authentic, not like they're playing catch-up. The campaign also featured 2 other key sets, right? There was one that screamed pure holiday nostalgia, the red and white candy cane pattern set, long sleeve crop top and matching pants.
Yeah. Very direct holiday appeal there.
And then there were also lavender and multicolor coordinate sets.
Yeah.
What was the strategy behind including those alongside the more explicitly themed ones?
Well, inclusion of those other sets illustrates a really smart segmentation strategy within the fashion line itself. The candy cane set, like you said, appeals directly to that seasonal, maybe limited edition impulse buy. It's pure fun, pure holiday. But the lavender and the other multicolor coordinates, they signal something different. They signal year-round wearability, aesthetic versatility. They show the customer base that FBM supports their personal style outside of just the holiday theme. It reinforces the idea that this is a comprehensive lifestyle brand now, catering to diverse preferences and usable beyond December.
Got it.
And this whole fashion line seems anchored, again, by her personal conviction. The sources repeatedly mention that the loungewear is designed for extreme comfort, for wearability, which aligns perfectly with her often quoted preference, something like she rarely wears jeans. How does linking the product back so directly to her personal habits reinforce that brand trust we talked about?
It really closes the loop on that founder commitment narrative. For Gen Z, trust gets eroded very quickly when a celebrity seems to be selling an image or a lifestyle that they don't actually appear to live themselves.
Right, the disconnect.
Exactly. So when MBB is modeling comfortable, casual loungewear, and the sources can currently verify her personal preference for comfort over more structured apparel like jeans, the consumer perceives the product offering as genuine and functional. It feels like she's selling her lived reality, which is basically the gold standard for influence marketing today. It sends a message to the customer: I actually use this. I believe in this product for my own life, which, let's face it, is probably high stress and busy. It implicitly positions FBM loungewear not just as cute, but as functional comfort wear suitable for a modern, demanding schedule. Okay, so transitioning from the new fashion focus back to the core beauty offerings for the holidays. The 2025 limited edition gift sets were all packaged under this umbrella name, Read All About It, which is catchy, but the sources suggest the packaging itself contained this quite sophisticated visual strategy aiming for maturity.
Yeah, I found that design choice really interesting too. The packaging aesthetic was apparently inspired by things like magazine collages, maybe old newspaper prints, and it featured these unique, slightly faded-looking cyanotype-inspired wreaths. Plus, they used these deep blue gradient palettes. The sources explicitly state this was an intentional strategy to help the brand mature alongside Millie Bobby Brown's growth into adulthood. Talk about that visual shift.
Okay, this is a really nuanced point, but it requires some careful analysis because in beauty marketing, the semiotics, the meaning behind colors, is incredibly powerful. When FBM first launched back in 2019, its primary color palette was famously those playful purples and pinks, right?
Very youthful, yeah.
Exactly, signaling a youthful, bright, fun, maybe even first makeup kind of teen brand. However, as MB herself matured, entering her early 20s by 2025, the brand faced this inherent risk of being developmentally pigeonholed, stuck being seen as only a teen brand. So the shift towards blue gradients, especially these darker, more sophisticated shades that are often associated in the market with high-end, efficacious skincare, feels like a very calculated visual cue. It signals that the brand is consciously moving beyond just a fun, first-time makeup category and into serious, potentially long-term skincare and lifestyle maintenance. Those blue gradients, the magazine collage elements, the cyanotype prints, they all communicate a kind of artistic complexity, a thoughtfulness. It's designed to appeal to an older Gen Z demographic and maybe even younger millennials, consumers who value more curated adult aesthetics. This feels like proactive demographic expansion executed purely through visual identity design.
Wow. So the design is literally selling the concept of the brand's own evolution. That's clever. But, okay, great design is one thing. Execution also relies on making sure the price structure actually works for the customer, especially for gifting during the holidays when budgets can be all over the place. Let's break down how FBM seemed to strategically segment the market with their tiered pricing for these sets.
Yeah, the tiered strategy seems brilliant, honestly, because it maximizes market penetration. It tries to hit different spending capacities, ensuring, hopefully, that no loyal customer feels priced out. They essentially created 4 distinct price tiers, each serving a specific purchasing need, moving pretty logically from impulse buys up to more premium gifting options.
Okay, let's start at the bottom, the entry point. The stocking stuffer tier. This focused on accessible luxuries, right? It included things like the buzzworthy Lips Duo, limited edition lip oils, priced somewhere between $10 and $20. That's the impulse buy level.
Precisely. This tier is absolutely designed for high-volume impulse purchases. Think younger teens spending their allowance or people buying small gifts for friends, Secret Santa exchanges, that sort of thing. At $10 to $20, the perceived value is still quite high because the product retains all that clean, vegan, PETA-certified branding.
Right. The core values are still there.
Exactly. But the actual cost barrier is almost non-existent. This tier also serves as a critical first purchase funnel. It's a low-risk way for new customers who might be hesitant to commit to, say, a $30 serum to try the brand out.
Okay, moving up. Next, they had the self-care trio tier. This seemed to align with those broader wellness trends we see everywhere. It featured the Coffee Chronicles, set a trio of coffee-infused skincare products priced a bit higher, between $14 and $28.
Yeah, this tier is clearly capitalizing on two major cultural currents. First, the ongoing obsession with self-care rituals, taking time for yourself. And second, the functional beauty movement, the idea of ingredients doing more than just hydrating, like providing energy or revitalization, which coffee suggests. By pricing this slightly higher, they're capturing the customer who's willing to spend just a little bit more on a targeted trending routine. It enhances the perception of FBM as a brand that's really plugged into modern wellness culture, not just basic skincare.
Got it. Then stepping up again in value and scope is the routine builder tier. This seemed aimed at encouraging more comprehensive adoption of the brand. That was the glow all about it. It's described as a full skincare kit for a complete radiant winter routine, priced between $19.50 and $39.
The routine builder tier is a classic strategy, really, designed to increase the average order value, or AOV. It encourages cross-category adoption within skincare, getting someone to use cleanser, serum, and moisturizer from the same brand. This tier offers significant perceived value because the components, if you bought them separately, would likely cost substantially more. The objective here seems clear. Habituate the customer to using a multi-step FBM routine. The hope is that this guarantees continued purchases of the individual full-size products well into Q1 of the following year. It's the brand trying to lock in that customer for the longer term.
Okay, makes sense. And finally, the top tier for the beauty sets. The premium gifting tier. This featured the signature all-in-one set, the Wildly Me gift set, positioned right at $50. And this one encompassed the brand's top sellers.
Yeah, that $50 price point is strategically important. It's targeting a different kind of purchase, maybe parental gifting or more significant gifts between older friends or partners. By packaging the established top sellers together, FBM guarantees that the recipient is exposed to their best, most beloved, and likely most effective products. Furthermore, if you look at the potential profitability model, the sources suggest that these premium sets, like the Wildly Me one, likely carry a significantly higher gross margin compared to the lower price tiers. They provide a necessary revenue anchor that helps fund the brand's rapid expansion, the R&D for new products, the marketing costs, everything else.
And the versatility didn't just end with those box beauty sets, though, did it?
Yeah.
The holiday guide made sure to cover all bases. It also promoted things like gift cards, exclusive water bottle kits, tying into lifestyle again, and those customizable loungewear options, with the full sets ranging up towards, what, $64.95?
Exactly. That breadth of selection is really the hallmark of a mature, confident lifestyle brand. It ensures that FBM can potentially meet almost every conceivable gifting need during that crucial Q4 period, from a quick, inexpensive add-on purchase to a significant, thoughtful main present. This flexible, tiered, and importantly, multi-category approach maximizes the likelihood of capturing both impulse buys and planned high-value purchases from a really diverse, though primarily youth-oriented, customer base. And that breadth is crucial for hitting those big overall quarterly revenue targets.
Okay, so we've established the foundation of authenticity, the strategic aesthetic choices, the multi-category products, and the careful pricing. Now let's pivot and look at the results. How did all this strategic preparation actually translate into market impact? What do the numbers, the business metrics really tell us about the success, especially that big multi-category expansion?
Well, the primary engine that seems to be driving their sustained success, and this comes through in almost every piece of market data we've seen, remains the power of founder commitment. We have to keep coming back to this because it distinguishes FBM so clearly from many older celebrity lines. The fact that Millie Bobby Brown didn't just endorse the brand, but actually secured majority ownership and actively drives the aesthetic vision, that provides tangible proof of commitment. It contrasts really starkly with older models where the celebrity often felt more like a hired figurehead.
And that commitment translates to loyalty.
It seems to, yeah. It's fostered this exceptional customer loyalty, apparently sustained pretty consistently since the 2019 launch. Gen Z, as we know, is inherently skeptical of marketing, of celebrity. But their reported loyalty to FBM seems to be a direct reflection of their perception that there's genuine value alignment here. When they see her modeling the loungewear she claims to love, or when she discusses the specific needs of sensitive skin based on her own documented experiences, it validates the purchase decision for them in a way that a simple celebrity endorsement photo just cannot achieve anymore.
Right. That loyalty must have fueled the incredibly rapid, multi-category business empire they built. Let's just quickly review the speed of that expansion again, because it's kind of breathtaking. Started with skincare and makeup in 2019.
Then added hair care in 2021.
Expanded into fragrances and even remarkably pet products in 2023.
Right. Florence By Mills Pets.
And then the critical launch of the full fashion line, focusing on loungewear, in 2024, leading into this big 2025 holiday push. That pace is almost dizzying.
It is an incredibly aggressive expansion strategy, but it seems very calculated. Each new category serves that strategic goal of increasing the potential consumer lifetime value. But think about the sheer operational complexity involved here. Moving from regulated beauty products, which have their own rules, into fashion with its sizing and inventory challenges, and then into pet supplies with completely different safety and sourcing requirements. That requires distinct supply chains, different regulatory clearances, unique merchandising expertise for each vertical.
It's like running multiple different businesses under one brand umbrella.
Essentially, yes. And the fact that they seem to have managed this rapid diversification without significant reports of brand dilution or major operational stumbles, that speaks volumes about the robustness of their internal operational structure. A structure arguably that the majority state acquisition back in 2020 enabled them to build and control more effectively.
Okay, let's talk concrete commercial traction, especially regarding that big fashion gamble. The sources thankfully provide some specific metrics for the fashion division's initial performance leading up to the holiday push. So the reports indicate that the Florence By Mills fashion division generated approximately $1.5 million in sales revenue over a 6-month period in 2025. And that translated to over 55,000 units sold. That feels like a huge validation for that multi-category pivot, doesn't it?
It really does. That $1.5 million in revenue just from the new fashion line is remarkable, especially when one report mentioned hitting $248,000 in monthly revenue in April 2025 alone. That suggests strong initial traction and growth. And if you do the rough math, $1.5 million divided by 55,000 units, it gives you an average unit price somewhere around $27.
Okay.
Which suggests a pretty healthy mix. They were likely selling a lot of the lower-priced items, maybe those camisoles or shorts, but also a good number of the higher-priced full loungewear sets, which were closer to the $40, $65 range. It indicates robust volume across the price architecture.
And what does that $1.5 million figure mean competitively?
Well, more importantly than just the dollar figure, this kind of growth rate puts FBM Fashion in a genuinely competitive position within the crowded Gen Z loungewear market. They're competing against the fast fashion giants on price to some extent, but critically, they're offering arguably better quality materials and those ethical credentials, the clean, vegan aspect carrying over. That likely justifies a higher gross margin for them. And for a company clearly focused on CLV, a brand new division generating this kind of incremental non-beauty revenue is crucial. It proves that the brand name itself, Florence By Mills, now has resonance across product verticals. It's essentially transformed from just being a product line into a true consumer destination brand.
Right. Now, to manage this diverse product range across different categories, they obviously need an equally diverse sales strategy. Can you walk us through their omni-channel strategy? Because they weren't just selling on their own website. They were using DTC, online retail partners, and making that critical move into physical locations like Nordstrom.
Yeah, the omnichannel approach they've adopted is highly sophisticated and seems designed to address different customer needs and shopping preferences. Direct-to-consumer, DTC, through their own website, florencebymills.com, obviously provides the highest profit margin per sale and gives them complete control over brand messaging and, crucially, customer data collection.
But DTC alone often limits reach, right?
Exactly. True scalability, reaching the mass market, requires broader distribution. So their partnerships with online retailers like Amazon, Urban Outfitters, and Forever 21 are very strategic. Amazon ensures market ubiquity, just being everywhere, and captures price-conscious shoppers or those using Prime for convenience. Urban Outfitters and Forever 21, on the other hand, directly target that core young fashion and lifestyle consumer, leveraging the high traffic already flowing through those existing digital environments. They meet the customer where they already are.
But the really significant leap, it feels like, was into physical retail. The sources mentioned securing distribution in 20 Nordstrom locations as of September 2024. That requires a totally different operational skill set, moving physical product into stores. What does that physical presence add to the brand's overall valuation and credibility?
Oh, getting in a Nordstrom adds immediate, significant credibility. It physically positions FBM alongside established luxury brands and well-respected department store staples. It sends a powerful signal to the market and to consumers that their product quality meets a high physical standard worthy of that environment. Operationally, like you said, it's a massive shift. FBM suddenly had to meet rigorous wholesale demands, things like accurate inventory forecasting months in advance, ensuring timely deliveries to multiple locations, maintaining consistent brand presentation standards within a third-party store environment. It's complex.
And it targets a different shopper, perhaps?
Potentially, yes. They're likely targeting a more affluent segment of Gen Z, or maybe even millennial parents shopping for them, who frequent Nordstrom. It diversifies their customer profile beyond the purely online, perhaps younger base. This hybrid model maintaining control and data through DTC, achieving scale through online partners, and building premium credibility through selective physical retail like Nordstrom, that really is the blueprint for modern retail success.
Okay, beyond just the retail channels, let's touch on their social media fluency and ethical consciousness. How did the 2025 campaign and the brand generally seem to use specific platforms to maximize reach? And how does that ethical sourcing piece really tie into the bottom line? Is it just good PR or more?
Well, the brand is natively digital, right? It was born online, which means they inherently understand the unique language and culture of each social media platform. The reports specifically mention them creating platform-specific content, not just cross-posting the same ad everywhere. For example, Instagram seems to be used for the more polished lifestyle imagery, the campaign narrative selling the dream, the aesthetic. TikTok, however, is utilized very differently. It's for short-form video tutorials, for integrating directly with trends, like showing different ways to style that coquette corset, and for encouraging user-generated content, like unboxing videos or challenges. TikTok is where the authenticity is often performed and validated by the community.
And they used it for expansion, too.
Yes, the reports mention specific TikTok campaigns being used for geo-specific expansion efforts, like a reported push into the Swedish market. That shows a really advanced level of targeting. They aren't just translating ads, they're creating localized, culturally relevant content designed to drive specific regional sales and overcome that high-trust barrier you always face when entering a new international market.
Very smart. And that ethical angle, clean, vegan, cruelty-free, it seems absolutely non-negotiable for their core consumer. The source material even cites a statistic. Apparently, 73% of Gen Z consumers consider sustainability important when making purchasing decisions.
Exactly. And that data point is the core justification for the brand's unwavering commitment to things like sustainable, lower impact packaging and ethical sourcing. For FBM, this isn't just optional corporate social responsibility, CSR, anymore. It's a fundamental competitive requirement. If the packaging isn't sustainable, if the ethics aren't clear, the purchase creates this cognitive dissonance for the modern, conscious consumer, and they might just choose a competitor who aligns better with their values. FBM works hard to minimize that dissonance, ensuring that its ethical commitments directly translate into maintained market share and deep customer loyalty. It's good business.
Right. Okay, finally, let's connect this whole massive, complex business operation back to the founder herself. The broader industry implication here seems significant. Millie Bobby Brown is managing this burgeoning empire while simultaneously maintaining an incredibly demanding dual career in acting. We saw Stranger Things. Season 5 was reportedly launching November 26, 2025, just weeks after this holiday guide dropped. Plus, the ongoing Enola Holmes franchise, other Netflix projects like Korea. Just picture it. How does she even do that?
Her ability to sustain both the high-profile acting career and this rapidly scaling, operationally complex business genuinely challenges the traditional models of celebrity entrepreneurship. Her success is likely influencing other young stars, maybe encouraging them to demand similar levels of ownership and direct control in their ventures. It proves quite powerfully that deep, hands-on commitment can generate significantly higher and more sustained commercial value than the older, often more passive licensing or endorsement model ever could. She's setting a new standard.
But I have to pose a critical challenge here, playing devil's advocate. Doesn't this intense dual career trajectory create an inherent risk for Florence By Mills? I mean, if her primary attention is potentially divided, focused on film sets around the globe, how can the intense day-to-day operational demands of a multi-category global lifestyle brand, managing supply chains, reacting to fast fashion trends, overseeing quality control be truly sustainable over the long term? Isn't there a bandwidth issue?
That is the crucial question, isn't it? It's the inherent tension baked into the FBM model right now. The brand's unique selling proposition, its competitive advantage, is absolutely tied to its founder's authentic involvement. But her demanding acting schedule is also, simultaneously, its primary potential operational liability or bottleneck. The sources suggest, implicitly at least, that the solution lies in the strength and empowerment of the executive leadership team she presumably put in place, especially after securing that majority stake. She acts as the visionary, the chief aesthetic director, the face of the brand. But the day-to-day, minute-to-minute operations must be delegated effectively to high-caliber, experienced executives who can run the machinery.
So, structure and delegation are key.
Absolutely. We see historical parallels, maybe, with figures like Jessica Alba at The Honest Company or Rihanna with Fenty Beauty and Savage x Fenty. They also transition from being primarily performers to becoming powerful business leaders. But MB achieved this kind of scale much younger and arguably while still being more active in her original performance career simultaneously. The success of FBM through 2025 seems to demonstrate that the organizational structure they built was, at that time, robust enough to manage her time constraints. It likely relies on her input for crucial strategic decision points, like the holiday launch timing, the overall aesthetic direction, the category expansions, rather than needing her for daily operational minutiae.
And we saw that strategic thinking applied even to the packaging details, that conscious move toward the blue gradients to deliberately mature the brand visually alongside her own personal growth. That felt like a calculated risk, moving FBM perhaps out of the comfortable, known teen brand demographic.
It's arguably an absolute necessity for the brand's long-term survival and growth. If FBM had remained visually locked into a strictly teen aesthetic forever, it would inevitably lose relevance as its earliest loyal customers, and MBB herself moved firmly into their 20s and beyond. That intentional injection of sophistication, the shift toward a more mature color palette, the expansion into a full lifestyle offering beyond just makeup basics, it positions the brand strategically to capture not just older Gen Z, but potentially younger millennials as well. This proactive maturation strategy is what could secure FBM's position as a potential long-term leader in the broader lifestyle space, provided, of course, that it can continue to execute effectively against the increased operational demands that come with serving that larger, perhaps more sophisticated market segment. Hashtag tag outro.
Okay, so to bring this deep dive to a close, looking back at all the source material, the Florence by Mills 2025 holiday campaign really stands out. It feels less like just a product drop and more like a masterclass in highly sophisticated retail execution, carefully planned and timed. It strategically blended that aggressive early timing launching October 30th to get ahead of the noise and protect margins with this deeply ingrained foundational commitment to founder authenticity, which is crucially backed up by her majority ownership stake in the business. The campaign successfully leveraged Millie Bobby Brown's genuine persona to sell this appealing vision of accessible self-care and authentic self-expression. And it anchored all of that with a very finely tuned, tiered pricing structure designed for maximum market penetration, alongside that significant and clearly validated expansion into the high-growth loungewear market. The data, the metrics we discussed, they seem to confirm that FBM by this point was far more than just a passing celebrity trend. It really showcases MBB's successful and frankly impressive evolution from a beloved child star into a genuinely strategic and powerful business founder.
I agree. Florence By Mills fundamentally exemplifies this new era of celebrity entrepreneurship. An era where tangible proof of trust and genuine value alignment with the consumer, especially with that incredibly discerning Gen Z cohort, are proving to be far more valuable assets than simple traditional star power ever was. And that intentional visual maturity strategy we saw woven into the 2025 collections, particularly those sophisticated blue gradient aesthetics in the packaging, that feels crucial for the future. It positions the brand for continued relevance, demonstrating a proactive, forward-thinking approach to evolving alongside its founder, rather than being trapped by her initial image.
Which leaves us, as always, with a final provocative thought for you, our listener, to perhaps mull over after this. Given that the brand's unique value proposition has been, and seemingly still is, so intrinsically tied to its founder's personal journey, and given that its success appears to depend, at least in part, on successfully maturing alongside her, how much longer can Florence By Mills realistically rely so heavily on Millie Bobby Brown's personal brand evolution? And maybe more critically, at what future inflection point must the brand potentially begin to fully decouple its core identity from her specific celebrity persona to truly become a standalone, self-sustaining lifestyle powerhouse? One capable of weathering the inevitable shifts in her career, in popular culture, and in consumer trends long term. We'll leave you with that massive question to chew on. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.